Hey everybody, Mike here with Bearcat Blades, Boards, and Metal Fab. Going to be doing a series on knife making. We're going to start out simple and go through up to complicated. We'll start at a stock removal method, and then we'll put a handle on that knife. Then we'll go up through forging a knife, and we'll put a handle on that one, and then we'll do some Damascus. We're going to go from easy to hardest, and a lot of people have asked how the knives are made. So I'm going to put out this instructional video on how it's done, so that people could do it themselves if they wanted with the right tools. We'll talk about the tools you'll need to do everything. Tools that you can replace with other tools, cheaper things, stuff like that. I have the CNC machine that I can cut steel out with. We're not going to use that because we'll show you the way that most people would do it. Not everyone has a CNC machine sitting in their shop like I do. We got the 2x72 grinder, we got the metal bandsaw. All of this can be done without expensive tools like those, but for the ease of the video I'm going to use them so you can see how it's done with those. And I apologize right away, it's about 95 degrees in the shop right now, and it's only going to get hotter because it's about 8:30 in the morning. So what we'll do is we'll jump right into the first knife, which is going to be a simple stock removal knife. No harm in doing a stock removal. Many knife makers do. In fact, even when I forge a lot of knives, I'm just taking an old piece of steel, forging it into a billet, and then doing stock removal on that, which is, there's no other way to do it. I mean, you could take the exact size piece of steel and pound it into a knife shape, but you're still going to end up at the grinder. And there's no reason to work harder than you need to. So this first video we'll start out with a piece of 1095 steel. It's going to be a bar of stock, and we'll go through everything on setting everything up. We'll cut it out, we'll put pinholes in it, we'll put it on the belt grinder and bubble it, we'll heat treat it, so that everyone can see how all that's done. And once that's all done, I'll probably finish for the day, and then tomorrow I'll do a video putting the handle on it, and we'll go from there. So first thing we'll do is I'll readjust the camera so you can see down at my I'm going to work on top of the CNC table so you can get a good shot of everything, and we'll show you how it's done. Alright, we're set up here on the CNC table, and I've got this piece of wood that I work on. I use this chunk of wood because it's perfectly flat. For right now it's machined perfectly flat on my CNC, but I use it a lot for everything. It's sturdy. Well, the first piece you're going to need is some steel. This is a piece of 1095 bar stock. I like 1095 for my knives, high carbon steel. Takes a heat treat really well, and it's really strong. So we've got this piece here. The second thing you'll need is, if you're just starting out and you don't want to hand draw your knives, is a template. This is the template that I use for my single drop point, normal survival style hunting knife, whatever you want to call it. This is just carved out of maple. I use a template so that I can tell every single time the knife shape is going to be the same, or at least close to the same. So we have one of those. And if you see anything you have questions here about, just shoot me a question. If you want a template or something, let me know. I'll send you one. Send you one for free or something, just for shipping charges. The next thing you're going to need is a machinist square, set of calipers, and this is a homemade stainless steel scribe that I use. and something to measure with. I use my grandpa's old square. You're going to want this machinist square to make a nice perfect line on this billet when you are ready to cut it, so you get the right length on your knife. I use these calipers for the thickness, exact thickness, because you're going to need to know that when you want to scribe a center line down this to bevel. This is a scribe we're going to use to scribe the lines into this steel. It's hardened, so it's a lot harder than this steel right here, and it'll scribe right into it nice. And the next things we'll need will be a beveling jig. I use this beveling jig. This was made by Father and Sons. That's what the company's called. Works really, really well. We'll explain its usage. In my opinion, this is the only way to make your knives look professional. It's a really simple jig. It just moves back and forth. There's a adjustment right here. It takes this and adjusts the angle on here, because the platen on a 2x72 grinder is 90 degrees, the plate that you're going to set your material on. So what you do is put your billet in here, or your blank in here that you want to bevel, and this sets the angle of the bevel, and it's going to come up against the 90-degree platen, and it's going to carve that bevel in real nice. The next thing we'll need is, I use this steel red, which is a type of layout fluid. If you can read that, I can't really tell. This is my second video with this camera. This layout fluid you're going to need to, you can use it for a couple things. I use it down this edge so that when I'm going to grind my bevel in, I can see where the center line is. I'll scribe a center line in there with a drill bit, and I'll show you how I do that. And also you can use it on here to give you a nice, good representation of where your bevel is going when you do it. But I'll show you when we get to that point. The next thing you'll need is some acetone. I always have a lot of acetone in the shop, and some safety glasses. If you don't have a 2x72 grinder, you could go with a set of files. I have a number of files, from big sizes almost the size of this down to some little ones that are smaller than a pencil, and we'll use those if we need to. Probably won't need to in this video, but if we run into that situation, you'll be able to see what I'll do if we need to. And I run the 2x72 grinder. I've got belts from 36 up to, I think, 600, maybe 800. But the highest I'm going to go on my bevels is, I think, 220. Even 220 is kind of overkill for me. Sometimes 150 is as high as I'll go. It looks really nice regardless. So what we'll do is I'll set up a shot, and we'll start laying out this knife on this piece of billet. There was a couple of things I forgot to mention. Also, I'm going to use a drill press to drill pinholes into these, and I'm going to use a metal bandsaw to trim this out before I take it to the grinder to take it down to a perfect shape. The metal bandsaw, you can get away with just a regular bandsaw. A lot of people use an angle grinder. Angle grinder works really well. If you don't have the 2x72 grinder, you can use an angle grinder to bevel as well, or you can use a sliding file setup that works really well too. And so the first thing we want to do is put this on here, so we got it on a nice fit. I like to bring it up to one edge so that I don't have to cut quite as much. And I'll grab this red Sharpie right here, and I'll trace the outline of this onto the steel. Remember, this is called the stock removal method. if we were forging, obviously we wouldn't be to this point yet. I would have to weld a handle on here to use it at the forge. I use a handle. I don't like to use tongs for some reason. I don't know, it's just not my thing. So we've laid this out on here, and now you can see the basic shape of the knife on the steel. Let me see if I can tip this up a little bit towards the camera. We've got our basic shape there. Now, just for ease of the video, I'm going to paint around this so you can see the entire knife, so that when we're cutting it out, you'll be able to tell what's going on. This Dicam works really, really well. It's steel red layout fluid, and basically it's going to go on like this. It's going to dry really quickly, and you'll be able to see it really well, so that you know when you've gotten all the steel cut out that you want. A little bit more here. Back over these light colored areas. Okay, so now you can really see the layout of that. So we'll give this a minute or so to dry, and I'm going to set up the bandsaw over on the bench, and I will move the camera over there, and we'll set it up and get some shots of this getting cut out. We are set up at the metal bandsaw. Got my billet here. Now this is a Bauer bandsaw. This came from Harbor Freight, but let me tell you, this thing is a beast. You won't bog it down, you won't kill it. It's very, very well made. Now the blades that come from Harbor Freight are just complete garbage. This is a Lennox Wolf blade. This is one of the finest blades I've ever used. I use them repeatedly, and they stay good. I just got it set up in my vise. You don't need a big bandsaw table to cut things out like this. This little tiny table that comes with it, more than enough. You're really just going to move it around, cut stuff like that. Also, out of the frame, I have a jug of cold water. This blade's going to, anytime you're cutting metal, grinding metal, it gets really hot. So we're going to dip it in this water bath every so often to keep it cool. You'll see me probably oil this blade a couple of times while we're cutting. Most likely, after I get this recorded, I'll probably set up, I'll probably play it back to you guys in fast motion, because it takes a good bit to do this. And just gonna clamp this down here so it doesn't move. Safety glasses. And what I'm gonna do is, unfortunately, this specific bandsaw doesn't have a locking trigger, so I tape it down with masking tape. I would say don't try this at home. Probably not the best idea, but it works really well for me. Sometimes it turns on and off, we'll see. Sometimes I get lucky and it runs the entire time. So it's going to get loud. I apologize for that, but here we go. So now you can see we've got a rough profile of a knife here. Anything that's red we'll take off with the belt grinder. Up through here, down in here, we'll round that all out, and we'll square this off. So we'll take you over to the belt grinder next and show you how I do that. We're over at the 2x72 belt grinder now. I've got a 36 grit belt on here. That'll make nice quick work of anything we need to clean up on here. I've got my water back over here, which you can barely see. To keep it cool, this is where it starts getting really hot, so we'll just start going and you'll see where he goes. This is even louder than the bandsaw, so I apologize. Profile here. Next thing I'm going to do is switch over to a 150 and just smooth these off more. That way I'll be able to see my nice scribe line, and it'll get rid of some of these rough edges. On here now, I'm going to do this with a Dremel because it's going to be easier for me. I could change the contact wheel out on here, but it's going to take me 5 seconds to get my Dremel out instead of 5 minutes to change out my contact wheel. So let that knife cool down a little bit. It's warm. It's not real hot, but this cold water bath takes care of it real easy. So the next thing we'll do is I'll take you over back onto the CNC table and we'll talk about the bevel jig and putting holes in this for the pins to hold on to the bevel jig. So we'll see you over there. Okay, we're over on the bench now, and we've got our blank here. I went ahead and marked out my 2 holes with some white paint so I could see them when I put them onto the drill press. The first hole I'm going to drill is a 1/8 hole. The 1/8 hole is what I need to hold it into the bevel jig. Let me see if I can just move the camera up so you can see. There's the drill press. So we'll take this over to the drill press. These are Cobalt drill bits. So now we've got 2 pinholes in there that we can use to hold it onto the bevel jig. So now let's talk about the bevel jig. As I said before, this is made by Father and Sons, and I explained how it worked with the way the bevel is set up. This is set to 7 degrees, but you mount it in upside down like this. And what this is going to do is hold this blank in place while you put a bevel on it. Now, you know what? I did forget something. So, we got to look at this edge right here. So, I'm going to use my die chem again. I could have done it on the jig, but this is easier. We're just going to paint this edge for now. And like I said, this is 3/16 inch steel. So if we take a 3/16 inch drill bit, then we'll be able to lay this flat, lay the drill bit down, and scribe a line using the middle of the drill bit, because the drill bit has a point and it's dead center. So that helps out a lot. Let me grab a 3/16 here. I had one ready to go, I just don't know where I put it. Which is classic for me. 5:30 seconds. I'll fast forward this when it comes to it. I could have sworn I put it back in the case. Here it is. I did put it back in the case. So if we take a 3/16 inch drill bit, I don't know if you can see that, if it'll focus or not, but the tip of that is exactly half a 3/16. So we take it, lay it flat, and run it down the blade. Now we're going to flip it over and do it one more time. Just in case there's any inconsistencies, we'll see. Okay, so we have a middle line scribed, which is perfect. You probably won't be able to see it, but maybe a little bit. Here's an optional step. You can paint this entire thing. This will help you be able to see how far you've beveled up. It'll also let you see your plunge line really well. I'll explain the plunge line in a minute here. So your plunge line is where your bevel is going to end right here. Let me see if I got a blade handy where I can show you. And here's one I made in a video yesterday that I recorded and it didn't have any sound, so I had to re-record a new one today. But this edge right here, that's your plunge line, and you want it to be as close to even on each side as you can get. This one's really close, and this was a knife I forged yesterday. You can see the hammer marks, but the whole video got recorded without sound, so I decided to start again today and start at the basics. So now you'll be able, when you're hitting this on the grinder, you'll be able to see how far this bevel's going up, and it's be really easy to tell. It'll be easy to tell anyways because it's going to be more silver, but let's see, I got a little paint in my bevel, or in my middle line, so I'm going to rescribe that one more time. If you set yourself up for success in the first place, then you'll be good to go. When it comes down to it, I put that on pretty thick. There we go. Okay, so now we're ready to use the bevel jig. It goes in upside down in the bevel jig so that when the bevel grinder is running across, it's going to run across here and cut the bevel in the way we want it. If we put it in the other way, it would bevel the top of the knife. Now, I do that sometimes. It's all about how you orient this on here. If I take this and I orient it like this, let's say, it'll give me just a bevel right here, right there, which is on some of the blades I make have a double bevel like that. Or you want to bevel the entire top, you can put it flat, you'll get as far as you run the grinder up. But when I do my double bevel knives, I do them at an angle like this, just so I get that nice looking bevel right there. So we'll set this up for a regular bevel. If that noise is loud, that's because I got a fan running now in here, because it's probably 103 in here now. Just lovely day for knife making. Here in South Carolina, the shop's never any cooler than 90 degrees, so that's how it'll work. So now we've got this set up in there. When we get to the grinder, we're going to have it like this. The belt will be here, and we'll put it into the belt and run it this way. Likewise, when we want to do the other side, we're going to flip this around this way, and we'll be running it that way. But we'll get that all set up when we get over there, and I'll show you how it's done. That's it for this. I'll move the camera and we'll start over there. Alright, we're back at the 2x72. I've got a 36 grit wheel back on. Makes quick work of making bevels. I've got some paste wax here. It's like a beeswax. Works really good for lubricating stuff like this. We just want to put it on here so it slides nice. I do this every single time, so something you want to remember when you're using a grinder like this is that it's going to want to slide back and forth, so you don't want it to be rough and to catch. So the basic idea behind this is we're going to come in at our plunge line. We're going to go across and out. So it's okay to turn the blade like this when you're coming off. I'll usually come across and turn. Come across and turn. And just keep chucking it. Got my cold water here again. So here we go. This is loud again. I apologize. So you can see just how perfect these grinds come out with a jig. That's a professional looking grind right there. That's a perfect plunge line. So what I'm going to do now is swap over to the 150 again, clean that up. This is a Dictator belt grinder. This thing is awesome made, with a 2 horsepower, a single phase motor on it. Works awesome. Can pretty much grind through anything you want. It eats wood like it's nothing. And it takes metal working very easily to do. So we'll fire this back up and we'll clean that up. Because that's not supposed to happen. Oh, this is loose. My goodness. Shop is just full of fails out here. I considered for a long time making videos about how to not work in the shop. Seems like I could have done really well with that. So now we'll just take this, we'll just clean it up so it's nice again. Now we got a very nice shiny bevel on there. It's perfect. So what we'll do is flip this over. I'll go over to the CNC machine, flip this over and bring it back, and we'll do the other side. So I've got it swapped around to the other side, and got the 36 belt back on. Now here's where things can get tricky for people that are new to this. This plunge line, you really want it to be perfect. So what I'll do is start farther away from it, and I'll work my way back until it's perfect. That way you don't have to worry about being way off. A little bit off is fine, but you really like it to be as perfect as possible, as always. So make sure this is tight this time. We'll fire up the grinder. Alright, that looks perfect. So what we'll do is throw the 150 belt back on, polish this side up. Alright, we got this nice bevel on both sides of the knife. It's looking great. Right down the center. Spine looks perfect. Got a little overheating on the tip, which is okay for now. We're going to heat treat this in a minute. Before we heat treat this though, definitely want to make these holes bigger. Make them to the right pin size. I'm going to take them up to 3/16. Because that's the size pins I'm going to use. That's my custom pin that I put in the front is a 3/16 and the back pin is a 3/16. You want to drill these before you harden it. Now you can drill them after you harden it. I've done it many times, and it's just a pain every time. You have to use a masonry drill bit to do it with a carbide tip. Right now the steel is relatively soft, so we don't have to worry about any issues with that. So I'm going to take it over right here really quick, drill it, and be right back. Alright, now we got our 2 pinholes drilled in there. So now we're going to talk about heat treating. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this off with some acetone. And then I'll fire up the forge. What we want to do is get it to around 1500 degrees. It'll be like a red-brown color, almost orange. But the easiest way to do that, I find, is with a magnet. I can stick a magnet right into the forge on a handle, and when this, especially right here, you want all this hard. You'd like all this hardened, but you know, not so much down here. This is okay. It'll just flex. But down here, you want hardened. We're going to temper it after, so we'll talk about that. But so what I'll do is I'll get this cleaned off. I'll move the camera out by the forge so you can see what it looks like while we're heat treating it. I'll be touching the magnet to this while it's in the forge, and then I will pull it out and I will dip it into quenching oil, which I have sitting on my anvil outside. So I'll clean this up and then we'll see you out there. So we're outside at the forge now. This is a single burner forge, just a small one. We're going to be doing a heat treat. We have the double burner Hell's forge, but we don't need to use that right now. Here's my magnet. I'm just going to reach in there and tap on it to see when it loses magnetic ability. This forge is set to 14 pounds. Got some parchment paper in there. That should explode out nicely. Quenching oil set up right here. We're going to go right into the quenching oil with it. We got it back in the shop now. It's not fully cooled. It's pretty hot still. But I like to just dab the oil off. You can see that it got hardened up to about right here where the straw color is. And the next step for this knife is going to be tempering. And tempering, so when you harden this in the forge, it takes all the molecules in it, atoms in it, and ions and such, you know, all the science, and it jam packs them together. Now this knife is super hard right now, but it's also really brittle. You could sharpen it and use it as is, but if you were to get in some situation where you're using it to pry or something, it could snap. We don't want that, so we temper it. And tempering takes it and lets it relax back to a nice hard but relaxed state where it's hardened but it's still a little bit flexible. before we put it in the forge, it was really malleable. You could have bent this, it wouldn't have broke. Now if we tried to bend this, it would snap. After we temper it, it'll bend a bit. You can still snap it, but it's a lot harder and flexible than it will be from the state it's in now. Tempering process for me is the kitchen oven, 400 degrees, 3 hours. You go in for an hour and a half, flip it, let her go another hour and a half. So that'll be the next step. I'm not going to show that just because there really is no point in you guys seeing that. But you see there's a lot of forge scale on here now, especially from the impurities in the oil. The blades turned a little bit black in some of the areas, but that's fine because we're going to flat grind this, make it nice and shiny. We're also gonna, when we go in to sharpen this, we're gonna hit this one more time, and then we're gonna put a secondary bevel on the end of this when we sharpen it. So everything's gonna get cleaned up and shiny again. I don't prefer my knives to be polished, but some people do order them that way. So I like a satin finish myself, but so I'm gonna throw this in the oven and we'll see you afterwards. Alright, we're back in the shop after our heat treat in the oven. You should be able to see a nice golden straw color to the blade afterwards. That's how you know that it got fully heat treated. So the next step is going to be, we're going to put this back in the beveling jig, and we're going to hit these back up, make them nice and shiny again. We can shine this back up. That's up to you, depending on how you want your finish to look. I'm going to hit them really quick just so they're shiny. But I will set up at the grinder and I'll see you over there. We are back at the 2x72 grinder. I got the 150 belt on here. I've taken the tool rest off so that I have full access to the platen right here. And I'm going to first just do a nice flat grind on here to shine it up a little bit. I'll flip it, we'll shine the other side up, and then we'll put it back in the bevel jig. Alright, we've got the blank back in the beveling jig now. We're going to clean up this bevel right here. That bevel cleaned right up real nice. I'll flip it and we'll be right back. We've got the other side flipped over. Both sides cleaned up real nice. Alright, so here we are, back on the CNC table. We have got a piece of 1095 that we've cut, we beveled, we hardened, we tempered, and we cleaned up. This is ready for some scales, handles. The next episode we'll go over handles, but right now this baby is ready to go. After I get scales on here, I'll do the sharpening on this, show you how I do that. But right now, she is ready to go. She's perfect. Nice plunge line, perfect edge on these grinds. These holes are perfect. Everything's good. I like this. This will make a good knife. I appreciate you guys sticking out through this. Like I said, the next episode will be me putting a handle on this, and then we'll go through. The next one we'll forge a knife like this. Like I said yesterday, I had recorded a video of me forging a knife, which I forgot to turn the microphone on, so it just shows me talking with no sound. A little bit ridiculous, but you know, I do ridiculous things all the time. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching. Like I said, I'll have another video coming out soon for you guys. This is Mike with Bearcat Blades and Metal Ford. Mike with Bearcat Blades, Boards, and Metal Fab. And we'll see you in the next video.